Hi, thank you, Adam. Yeah, I'm Lisa Sian. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Luminus. We are a consumer interest company who work in the voice of local people. So we listen to people's feedback around health, social care and other services in Surrey, and then we feed that back into the system to hopefully improve them for people.
And obviously we've been working together for nearly a year now. Can you sort of take us through the process of choosing Qlic originally and what the key areas and decision-making factors were?
Yeah, absolutely. We were with our current provider at the time. We'd been with them sort of since the start of us as an organisation, and we came up for renewal. And at the time to sort of review the offering, we were looking. We looked across a number of providers. I think we spoke to about 8 initially, and then whittled that down to sort of 3 or 4, 3 plus the incumbent, if you like, and then we took that to the board as a proposal. So it's quite a long review process and quite vigorous in terms of everything we went through to look at. We're governed by a board who want to know every sort of minutiae detail. Things we were looking for was an organisation that really understood about how we work as a CIC, and that we're a small organisation, but often may have quite a few IT requests. Obviously cost was important to us as well. We don't have a lot of budget, but ultimately the quality and the cost were an important factor. So we would have been happy sort of with the money we were paying had we got the service we required. So yeah, that's basically what we had a number of criteria that we sort of cross-referenced all the different organisations against, and Qlic came out as the provider we wanted to work with.
That's brilliant, and it's a really important thing you say there about the cost against value for money, really, because there's no point in being the cheapest provider if you can't provide the service, but also there's no point in being so expensive that an organisation such as yourself or a not-for-profit organisation or a CIC wouldn't be able to afford, obviously, the most expensive provider as well. So there's a real balance with that sort of thing. When we onboard clients, it's a really important part of the process to get the onboarding right. I just want to tell us a bit about your experience of that, and were there any key areas you're concerned about, and how are they dealt with, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt it was really a really smooth process. We were moving across, obviously, as working in operations. Your main concern is that everything stays up and running, which it did, and we barely noticed the transition over, to be honest, which is perfect for us. It pretty much happened behind the scenes, but equally when we had questions, you were really responsive in answering those and setting our sort of minds at rest when we had slight panics at the 11th hour about what was going to happen with various email addresses and things like that. So I think you did respond to everything really quickly. I think for us initially we had a slightly different way of working with yourselves than with our previous provider, and I think that caused a bit of confusion at first. Our previous provider, we very much were email based, so whether it was an urgent inquiry or a less urgent, you went via the email, which is what people were doing. And obviously with yourselves, the support is very much on the phone if it's urgent, and in the email for those less urgent issues. So once we resolved that and people really understood they could pick up the phone, which again is great because things do get resolved a bit quicker when you can just chat to the person on the end of the phone, then I think that those were ironed out and really smooth.
Yeah, that's something we've definitely been working on, to make sure we're setting those expectations with your team, to make sure that if they do realise it's an urgent issue, you can just call at the end of the phone. We answer the phone in I think about 10 or 11 seconds at the moment, and they can just get the job fixed there and then, rather than having to send an email and wait for a back and forth. It definitely seems to be much more efficient to be on the phone at the end of the line. And then so far, in terms of the service provided by Qlic, obviously we've done a migration project for you and helped you get up and running with Microsoft 365 and Intune, and as well as obviously the onboarding and the support since then over in the last year. How would you describe that?
No, I think we've got absolutely no complaints. Great service. I think really professional and friendly, approachable. I feel the migration of SharePoint, our SharePoint was in a pretty bad way, as you know, and now it's not. It's in a good way, and it was again relatively painless getting from one area to the next. The staff working on that were really helpful and again really patient. We had lots of questions and we had to be really careful to sort of reassure ourselves that things weren't going to go missing or go awry, and every time we were like, oh, we can't find this, it'd be quickly solved and it was all there. So I think there was a lot of reassurance, a lot of explaining of the process, but again it pretty much happens in the background, and we were able to manage that, which is actually quite a massive thing for a small organisation, really smoothly. So yeah, we really appreciated the help with that.
And how would you sort of describe Qlic as a supplier to another organisation similar to yourselves?
I would say really professional, helpful, responsive, and I think, yeah, I would definitely recommend you to others, and as you were recommended to us from other sort of charity colleagues. I think you understand our sector and the way you work in terms of, the support and you give that, and how you structure the costing makes it really transparent for small organisations to sort of understand upfront what the costs will be. And then even with the additional things that we needed as an organisation, again, it was really transparent, and we were able to really put a case forward as to why we needed that sort of extra security and the SharePoint migration. It just felt very transparent.
Would you change anything about the service you received, and what would that be?
I think the only things, sort of issues we've had, not even issues, concerns we've had, were around sort of more complex things. With some of the tech that we brought in, it feels like some of the more complex issues are a bit harder to resolve. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, and kind of we understand that. I think maybe having a bit more proactive updates to say, actually, do you know what, it's taken us a long time, or we don't quite know at this stage what the plan is, but we don't have a resolution yet, but we're working on it, sort of save chasing. But I think, again, that's complex issues that are hard to resolve. I don't think there is a solution, and it's not Qlic's fault. It's the tech that we've installed in. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that I could think of. But again, you're working with us to resolve those, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important, though, as you say, because it doesn't matter if we can fix it or we can't fix it. Keeping that communication going, whether it be an email update, a quick phone call, it is really important to make sure the team are doing that. And that, we love to get that feedback, because we need to know what we need to improve. Because those little tiny touches, as you say, whether we can fix the problem or not, just keeping you in the loop and making sure your team understand what's going on, not feeling lost, not feeling like they've got to remember and chase, makes them be able to do their jobs better. So it is important to make sure that communication is 100%.
No, absolutely. And I think having the opportunity to have the sort of regular updates with yourself and sort of feedback, that allows us, sometimes there's some very small things, but obviously if they accumulate, if you've got lots of small things, that begins to feel like a big thing. But obviously if we can nip the small things in the bud as we're going along, which you are proactively asking for feedback, then they don't ever escalate into bigger concerns, because we've fixed them up front. And I think that is part of what working together is about. And I do feel like we do work together on this, rather than you just being a provider for us. I know some of the, when I speak to some of the guys on the support desk, we will have a laugh about it and be like, actually, do you know what, I know this is quite a small thing for you to fix, but actually for a staff member who's not understanding why this is happening, that becomes a big thing. So
fantastic. Well, I really thank you for your time today. It's been really fantastic that you've been able to share with us your experience, and hopefully some other organisations can learn from what you've said and get the experience for themselves.
No, absolutely. I would happily recommend you to other organisations. So I'm happy to be a reference.
Amazing. Thank you. Cheers, Lisa.